Yeah, today I will be talking about my battle with anxiety and where it started, how bad it got and where it is now. So, in the year 2007, I went to Disney World with my family. Now, this is a classic supervillain origin story, guys, okay? This is really some classic supervillain origin story right here. I went to Disney World and I went on one of the rides. It was the space simulation ride. I think in Epcot Center. Yeah, yeah, Epcot Center. Yeah, I did, and it was the most frightening experience because firstly you have like a famous actor, just a well-known actor from CSI uh, on the screen, and he's telling you you're going to Mars, and they like literally they close the ship and they tilt it upwards, and it's like they suck the oxygen out of the room as well. And it was so convincing. I felt like I was actually going to space, and it freaking terrified me. I felt like I was helpless, like I couldn't get out, like I couldn't escape. And little did I know that this was my first panic attack. This was my first panic attack, and I didn't know that it was that at that time because I was just in such a scramble to get out of there, and I was shouting and I was screaming and I was banging on the door, and literally like I couldn't get out. And my aunt was sitting next to me, and she was terrified for me because she could see I was not taking it so well. Um, yeah, and but the thing is, like after that, everything was fine. I went on the planes fine. I got home. I got back to South Africa fine. I continued on with my life, and then I went to see a movie, a certain superhero movie, um, when it came out in 2008. I'm not naming which one, uh, but when I watched that, it blew my socks off. Right, it really just blew my socks off, and I went to go watch it a second time. And now the second time I watched it, I knew where all the action scenes were gonna be in the film, right? And for some reason, when I went into the cinema the second time to watch this, the sound just started to affect me. Like I was literally like just like the sounds were just too loud, and I couldn't handle it. I I felt like so trapped by the sounds. You know, I it was it was weird because it never happened before. And yeah, and here's a movie that I actually loved the first time I watched it. Now, the second time it's I was completely terrified watching the movie. And the anxiety got the better of me, and I didn't experience any of those kind of symptoms before. Um, and that was that was pretty much it for that year. Like it was just around there. It was around those kind of symptoms. Sometimes it would be bad in the cinema, sometimes it wouldn't be. It's unpredictable. The next year, however, it got worse because I started like going on freeways. I started driving, and whenever I'd go on a freeway, I would have a freaking bad panic attack. Like it would be really really terrible because I feel like I'm trapped. When you're in a freeway, you're trapped literally. Like when there's no exits to any hospitals nearby, or like any sign of life nearby besides the cars, that would like not stop for you no matter what. Um, yeah, it's terrifying for someone with anxiety. And even then, I didn't know I was suffering from anxiety. I just thought maybe, I'm hyperventilating or whatever, because, I suffer from motion sickness, just like my dad, and it's probably just like, you know, uh, a type of motion sickness. I don't know. Maybe the car. maybe it's car sickness, I don't know. But yeah, that's how it was at the time. When we didn't know it was anxiety. And yeah, like the next year, after the whole first time with antidepressants, and this is when I moved to Cape Town now, my anxiety was all right. Like I had almost no incidents with anxiety for 2010. 2011, however, I started staying at home a lot more. I took like a gap year, and I was really starting to feel like lonely and stuff. And I just remember the anxiety just creeping in because I felt trapped in this house. Like I felt really trapped, and I just, I just couldn't like deal with it. I started experiencing different symptoms. I started getting like these tingling sensations in my hands, and you know, like pins and needles sort of thing happening all over my body, and I didn't know why any of that was happening. So then I went to a psychiatrist, and he told me, dude, you have. I didn't say dude, obviously, but he said, you have an anxiety disorder, and these are why your symptoms are acting the way they are. These are why you have these symptoms. So yeah, I started taking anti-anxiety meds, and I only took them for 3 weeks because I assumed that they were as bad as the antidepressants that I took the first time. So yeah, I stopped them after 3 weeks, and I was fine. I was like, my a show I wrote, the pilot I wrote for a show. I found a producer in Durban, and he was interested in the show, so we were gonna go to Durban and do the show there. Um, and when I went there, I was it was just so amazing. Um, and I just remember not having an attack for a while I was there because I met a girl. Uh, I met a girl, the one that ghosted me eventually, and yeah, I had no attacks really. I felt like I was free. I did feel like I was so free, and but independent, and all of those things. And so I was really in a good space, I think. And but that lasted for like 6 months before before things got bad again. um yeah, it just in 2013, when I took the other pill and got my insomnia that I told you about in my previous video, that made the anxiety worse, because now they put me on sorry, and benzos, like Alzam and Ativan. So I was on those as well, and they told me this is just to like disarm the anxiety attack. And I'd never used one of those before, so I never needed one of those before. So one day I just like had a bit of anxiety, just like a tiny bit. So I thought, okay, let me just try this out, this pill. Let me just put it under my tongue and see what happens, and see if it's good, And yeah, it worked. It worked. But then I went to town one day, right? I went to town to meet someone for coffee, and I drank the coffee, and immediately afterwards, I started feeling a really, really nervous, anxious feeling underneath my skin. And it was just small, but it was there. And then, hour by hour, it kept growing. And I couldn't control it. I couldn't control this anxiety, and it never happened to me before. I went on the bus going to go home after that meeting, and I swear to you, I felt like I was going to die, because the anxiety that I experienced left me shaking and shivering. And luckily, unluckily enough, I did not take the Ativan with me that day to town. I did not carry it around. So I literally had to wait like 2.5 hours to get home to get that medication and take it so that I can be relieved um, of my symptoms. And literally, it was one of the craziest experiences ever. I do not recommend anxiety to anybody. Okay. Yeah. So ever since taking that pill, um, I had to take pills in order to stop my attacks. I could not stop them by myself. So please, guys, don't ever take any of those pills to stop your anxiety. Okay? Don't ever take them. Okay? They will ruin your life seriously. Um, and after that, like I went through hypnosis, and hypnosis works, guys. Like it works like a charm. It does. It just takes. It's not as scary as you think it is. It's not like you're not like in somebody's like. Uh, you're not under their control. It's not what you think. It's just you lying there with your eyes closed, and they just suggesting some peaceful imagery, and that's it. It's just suggestion of peaceful imagery. Okay, so that it like instills a level of calmness in you, so that your brain remembers that you can be that calm. That's all hypnosis is. And yeah, I did that for a while, and it worked. It really did work, and I would absolutely recommend it. But I didn't follow through again with most of with most of my sessions, which I should have done, because while it went away, it did start popping up again, and that was my fault because I didn't follow through with the hypnosis. And then I went for acupuncture. I went for acupuncture, and that works. That works like crazy. That just that works. That absolutely works. Um, yeah, that works extremely well. And afterwards I started getting uh I started getting withdrawal symptoms because I withdrew from my sleeping pills and that sort of thing, and that fucked me up even further because the withdrawal symptoms, what were the withdrawal symptoms? It was anxiety. Of course, it had to be anxiety. It's my life. It had to be anxiety. It wasn't going to be anything else but anxiety. So yeah, and that was uncontrollable because it was a withdrawal symptom. And yeah, that was bad. And honestly, once I started like working and stuff, the anxiety mostly went away. I went to Yeah, I started working, and literally only had one attack that year. One. And it was a bad one, but it was towards the end of the year, and I had enough. I decided I had enough. Um, and what happened afterwards is that I got suggested that I go for life coaching. And I did. I went for life coaching. I went for all these sessions um, by a very talented life coach called Russell Brownlee, who helps me a lot. And he showed me these things called EFT techniques. Um, it's tap. It's tapping. It's emotionally freeing techniques, or yeah, something like that. But it's EFT. It's EFT tapping. That's what you guys should check out. And yeah, that helps. Like after 5 sessions, I stopped having attacks altogether, and this was 2 years ago, right? I haven't had an anxiety attack in 2 years. So literally, guys, like just follow my advice and do as I say. And I hope you guys get healed. And yeah, because I want you to be better, and I don't want you to suffer like I did, or like a lot of other people right now are suffering, probably even like worse than I suffered. And if this helps you, then I'm happy. So thank you so much, guys, for listening. And as usual, if you like this video, please like, comment, and subscribe. I will be doing more of these in the future, and I look forward to chatting to you guys again. Okay, cool. Thanks, guys.